Power Quest. Questing for power, you know, obviously, but also questing for unbelievably kick-ass Game Boy Color fighting games. Alright, so I'm not the biggest expert on Game Boy Color. I actually missed the event entirely, going from the original Game Boy all the way to Game Boy Advance. So when I bought this game last week, I kinda thought, hey, you know, it's a neat little robot game, I'll throw it in my Retron, I'll play it, it'll be good times. And then I started it up and I'm like, oh crap, this is a fighting game. And I started having like PTSD flashbacks of Mortal Kombat on the original Game Boy. But then I was all like, wait, this is fast-paced and satisfying, and I'm actually enjoying this. What? So the story is basically the predecessor to Build Fighters. Essentially, people are building models and then using remote controls to fight each other with them. There's a national tournament coming up, and you and your best friend Lewis would like to join, but unfortunately, you don't have enough money to pay for an entire model. In fact, you only have enough to pay for one part. Ironically, when you say this, you also have 0 funds in your account, so theoretically you should be able to pay for an entire model. Ignoring that, quite conveniently, as you finish explaining this, an envelope arrives with a coupon. This coupon entitles you to one free model, and the ability to switch it for any other model at any other time, which is something I've never heard of a hobby shop ever doing, but okay. So you decide to cash in your coupon at the nearest hobby shop run by local robot builder / apparent gun tank enthusiast Dr. Light. He then allows you to pick one of 5 robots, and then you take your robot and fight a bunch of people. And really that's it. It's a fairly basic 2D fighting game. What really surprised me is the fact that while this is a handheld game, it's quite fast-paced, it's quite smooth, and it's just an enjoyable experience. You have 5 different characters, technically 6, but you don't get to play one outside the versus mode, and yes, there is 2-player versus for whatever reason. So you get 5 characters, they all play differently. You've got big guys that do a lot of damage, you've got sort of all-roundy type characters. I personally prefer the high-speed model myself, and basically you just go around different areas of the town fighting different people at each area. Now, this is one of 2 problems I have with this game, the other being the kind of small roster, and that is, you will fight a lot of people. Like, there is grinding in this game, because in order to progress the story, you kind of have to just fight X number of battles, and it can add up quite a lot. And the fact that there's only really 5 different enemy types means that you're probably going to run into the same one a few times, and it does get a little bit annoying. To counteract that, the combat is very fluid, and it's really satisfying. Like, I know I've said that already, but I can't stress that enough. Despite the fact that I'm not very good at fighting games, it has a simplified control scheme, which means even I can pull off special moves, and it really just feels good to take out your opponent. Now, in addition to grinding, there is one other RPG element to this game, and that is actually building up your character's stats. Essentially, once you've earned X amount of money, you can go back to the model shop and buy powered up variations of your special abilities, as well as HP increases and a special bar increase. As you progress through the story, you will also gain the ability to pull off super moves, which, near as I can tell, are really just more extravagant versions of your standard special abilities. But that said, they do a ton of damage and can be used to combo enemies quite a lot. But that said, overall, the gameplay is excellent, the combat is fun, the different robot types all have personality and all have their own different quirks and stuff. And it's really just fun to find the model that works best for you and then show all the different NPCs how good you are at synergizing with your model's specific combat personality, which you can only do by gaining money to pay for the power-ups, which you have to earn by showing enemies how strong you are. So every step of the way you're constantly showing your opponent how strong you are and how much stronger you're going to be. And that helps to make this game, and I'm going to emphasize this word again, satisfying. The overall presentation of this game is excellent. Whether you are playing in monochrome or color, this game works perfectly fine. All the different character models are well defined and stand out quite well. The NPC portraits look great. Now, the audio side of the presentation is also fantastic. While there aren't too many different songs in the game, there's like maybe 20, and even then only like 5 or 6 are used for combat. They are really surprisingly catchy, helping to round out the presentation as well as the combat and gameplay, making it all one fantastic package. And that's the best definition for Power Quest I could probably give. Again, I only own like 3 Game Boy Color games, So despite my lack of expertise on this particular system, and the fact that I'd like to get more into it, hopefully sooner rather than later, I would say this is a must-own. If you like fighting games, even if you don't, because I'm not the biggest fan of fighting games, I still enjoyed this game a hell of a lot. And even if you're not good at fighting games, it's got a simplified control scheme that makes it really accessible to anyone. Power Quest is a must-have if you have any way of playing classic Game Boy or Game Boy Color games. Period.